The Eve Weather is the latest generation of the Eve outdoor temperature, humidity and air pressure monitor from the company. This version of the HomeKit-enabled accessory provides most of the capabilities found in the previous Eve Degree, but it comes with a larger screen, thread wireless capabilities and trend weather. So continue to watch this full review of the Eve Weather and hopefully it'll help you decide if this is the right device for you. So before we get started, if you're not a subscriber, then this channel is dedicated to everything HomeKit. So we do tutorials, we do review videos, and we broadcast the latest news on HomeKit. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button and also the bell button to be notified when new videos come out. Also follow us on our social media channels at Follow HomeKit. And if you're thinking about buying one of these, there is some links in the description below that help this channel out at no extra cost to you. So starting with the design, the all-new Eve Weather features a silver aluminium case with a glossy back finish, which is now pretty much in line with Eve Home's current product lineup. On the front of the Eve Weather, you get a 2-inch LCD display that works well in most light conditions. The new display is also much improved over its predecessor, the Eve Degree. On that device, users needed to press a button to toggle between temperature and humidity on the screen, whereas the new Eve Weather shows all the data all on one screen, and this makes it a lot easier to read. Around the rear of the device, you find the battery compartment that protects the CR2450 battery. Eve says that this battery is good for around 1 year, and based on my experience with the previous Eve Degree, I have no reason to doubt that. You also find the hole for the sensors and also the activate and reset button, along with a picture-style hook for placement of the Eve Weather on an external wall or fence. While the Eve Weather is pretty much identical to the Eve Degree in terms of design and size, and other than the bigger screen, nothing else is really different. One thing I did notice, and I just wanted to call this out, is that the HomeKit setup code is a sticker rather than etched on as found on the Eve Degree. So based on my experience with these types of stickers, when they get wet, they can be prone to peeling off, so you may want to watch out for that. Now moving on to setup. To turn on and activate the Eve Weather, you first press the button on the back of the device. The setup process involves opening the Eve app, navigating to settings, then accessories, and then tapping add accessory. This will bring up the HomeKit setup steps that you would find when adding any other HomeKit device, which involves scanning the HomeKit code on the bottom of the device and following the rest of the setup process, which involves adding it to a room and assigning the various different names to it. Setup, as with all the Eve Smart Home range, for HomeKit is straightforward. I also like that Eve has integrated the popular HomePass app so you can back up your HomeKit accessories and codes, and it saves you having to mess around later on if you needed to re-add devices. Once set up in HomeKit and Eve app is complete, placement of this device is key, and Eve recommends you do not place it in direct sunlight. I place mine in the same location as my current Eve Degree that does not have direct sunlight and provides a little protection from direct rainfall. Now moving on to the Eve app, HomeKit and performance. The Eve Weather is exactly what it says on the tin. It's a weather sensor with the display showing you temperature and humidity levels along with predicted weather for the next 12 hours. So if you place this in a convenient place outside of your home, you can see it at a glance and the information that it gives you. However, in my opinion, it's when you use the Eve app that gives you far more insight into the environment outside. For instance, you can get detailed breakdown of temperature, humidity and air pressure. You can view it at a glance on the primary screen, which will show you the current readings along with the temperature range for the last 24 hours in a nice colourful bar. And this is different from the previous Eve Degree. The next screen will give you another overview of the key data points, but you can also hit the arrow down and get a graph that shows you the last 24 hours. And if you click the eye icon, you get the breakdown of data over the last hour, week or month view in the detailed view section. You can also go further and compare data to previous points and have a look at what weather was like or temperatures or whatever it was from previous months or this time last year if you've had it in the garden that long. Eve Weather takes the temperature, humidity and air pressure readings every 10 minutes, and this device can store up to 3 weeks of data. So it gives you ample time to download the data to your device, and it's all encrypted and only transferred direct between the Eve Weather, iPhone, iPad, and it does not harvest your personal data by forcing you to set up an account or registering accessories. This means all your data is stored locally and never transmitted to the cloud. But if you do want to export your data, You can do that for further analysis, and you can do this via the Eve app into Excel. In my testing, the Eve Weather appeared to be accurate for temperature, humidity, and air pressure readings when I was comparing it to the Eve Degree. But it's also not just this data and the bigger screen that the Eve Weather improves on. The Eve Weather gets weather trends that uses information collected from the temperature, humidity, and pressure sensors to predict the forecasts of your immediate area around your home for the next 12 hours. This is all done locally and doesn't rely on external sources or information or cloud processing. Now, in terms of battery, Eve Weather is powered by a single CR2450 battery that comes in the box. Eve says it will last for 1 year before it needs to be replaced. Although I've only had the Eve Weather for a short time, so I can't really confirm that, but my experiences with the Eve Degree has been positive, and I've had no issue with battery life and lasting about 1 year. For instance, I've had the Eve Degree in my garden for over 1 year, across multiple seasons, with temperatures ranging from -6 to all the way up to 40 degrees, and the battery has lasted around 12 months. So in my opinion, with the addition of Thread, I'm confident that Eve Weather will perform just as well. In terms of weather resistance, the Eve Weather has a rating of IPX3, water resistance, same as the Eve Degree. This means it can withstand rainfall, but I would not recommend submerging this in water for any period of time. And again, with the Eve Degree, it's been outside in various different weather conditions, and I've had no issues with it. Now, moving on to HomeKit. Apple's Home app, things are a bit more basic than you'd find in the Eve app. You can see current temperature and humidity, but you can't see historical data or air pressure. So if you want to look at all that data, you're best sticking to the dedicated Eve app, which I did find was a lot more useful. And when I was using the Eve Degree over the last year, I was using the Eve app to download the data and look at it anyway. With the power of Eve app and HomeKit, you can also unlock the ability to create automations rules based on temperature or humidity. And you have to do this within the Eve app because the HomeKit automations within the Home app are pretty limited. So for example, a rule could automatically turn on the sprinkler via the Eve Aqua if your temperature in your garden rises above a certain level. But as I've said, you need to create these types of rules within the Eve app, but they are really powerful. And this is where the Eve app, in my opinion, is a great app, and it adds a lot of value to your HomeKit home. As with other HomeKit products, Eve Weather works with Siri, so you can ask Siri to tell you your current temperature or humidity or air pressure. And I found no issues with asking these types of questions, and Siri returned a response pretty quickly. Now moving on to connectivity, and it's where Thread really wins the day. I've been using Bluetooth connected Eve products for several years now inside the home, and I've not come across issues with range or response. But it's when I use HomeKit-enabled devices outside the home, and this can be from any brand, I experience problems with connectivity and devices showing no response. And this is down to the short coverage of Bluetooth radios, which is normally limited to around 10 meters. So when using the previous generation device, the Eve Degree, I would have to be fairly close to the device with my iPhone to connect. But that all changes with Thread that's built into Eve Weather that promises improved range, performance, battery longevity. But let me explain the key differences before I go into any more detail. First, you have your devices that act as border routers. Currently, only the HomePod Mini has this capability. This device bridges your Thread network with your home network. You need at least one border router to take advantage of Thread capabilities with Eve Weather and with HomeKit. The second type is a Thread router that can pass information to other Thread devices, and this expands the Thread mesh network. The last type is a Thread endpoint that can connect your mesh Thread network but can expand the mesh further. Eve Weather is a Thread endpoint device. So using a HomePod Mini with Eve Weather, you can take advantage of Thread. Then if you have router devices like say the Nanoleaf Essential light bulb or the new Eve Energy that's coming with Thread, these devices will help mesh your network together and help with range for devices like the Eve Weather versus using Bluetooth. Now I found in my testing, using a HomePod Mini, Nanoleaf bulbs, Essential light strips, and also a Eve Energy, all acting as Thread routers to boost up my Thread network, the performance of the Eve Weather was notable using Thread. I could connect to the Eve Weather from any point in the house, and the downloading of data was super fast. I also found that I could place the Eve Weather at the very bottom of my garden, which is something I could not do with any other HomeKit Bluetooth enabled devices. So overall, I'm pretty impressed they've included Thread and it's come through, and it's working well for this type of device because this is another great application for this type of technology to be able to expand at where Bluetooth devices would normally struggle. So my review summary: the Eve Weather does what it says on the tin and presents the data well in the Eve app. You get plenty of data to pore over that will give you some useful insight into the outside environment. I like the graphical changes that just add that extra touch when viewing data within the Eve app. And the Eve app is very powerful. This larger screen is welcome improvement on the Eve Weather. I like that all the data is in one screen, meaning I can just look over at the device to see all the data at a glance. I also like that Eve has included thread support, and this has given me more choice around placement because of the network range that this gives. Plus, connecting to the device and downloading data has been super quick and responsive. Although it's great that Eve is bringing innovations with trend weather data and it could be a useful data point, I'm not sure how useful this is over a dedicated weather data from something like the Weather Channel app. We'll have to wait and see how this evolves over time. Although this point is no reflection on Eve, it's worth mentioning that this type of device is limited in HomeKit. I would like to see Apple, for example, add support for being able to see some of the trend data within HomeKit and be able to analyze that. I'd also like to see more automation options directly with Neome app, without the need to jump between apps. The Eve Weather is certainly a nice upgrade to the Eve Decree, but the question you may be asking if you already own the previous generation, is it worth upgrading? And this is really down to personal preference. I don't think I can tell you that. My view though is if you're struggling with Bluetooth performance and have a HomePod mini, then it could be a good idea by doing so, and you're also future-proofing your HomeKit home. So guys, that's a wrap on the Eve Weather review. Hopefully you found it useful, and if you have, don't forget to leave me a like. And also if you've got a question that's not been answered in this video, leave a question below and I will try and get back to you with an answer. Also, if you're not already a subscriber, hit the subscribe button. And also check out our social channels at Follow HomeKit. Thank you very much. I'll speak to you soon.